I'm standing outside the Cricketers Arms, the famous cricket pub built in 1872, just 7 years after the historic Balmain Surrey Cricket Club was established. Before Balmain's suburbia expanded, the Cricketers Arms was the first building off Gladstone Park, which was historically known as the Pigeon Grounds, a site that used to host pigeon shootings and also held the first cricket match in South Sydney history. Now, just like with the London, I'll be handing over the reins to someone much more familiar with the cricketers than I. We'll be speaking with the pub's own publican, Tommy Hall. Well, first of all, Tommy, thank you for giving us your time.
Thanks for coming in. It's great to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Now, to the best of your knowledge, how did the Cricketers Arms start?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe it was built back in 1872. It was very industrial around Balmain, down there with the docks. Blue collar. It's had a pretty long history since then. It's changed owners a few times. But yeah, I believe it started in 1872.
Now, in Cricketers Arms' extensive history, are there any stories you've heard about the place before you started here?
I believe back in the day it was quite rough and ready. Like I said, it was very blue collar, very much working class back in Balmain in those days. And you mentioned the Wolfies down at Moat Bay. So yeah, a little bit rough around the edges back in the day, but luckily now it's tidied up a lot since then. I think Balmain's still got a rich connection with its old history. I think it's obviously a lot more mixed now from what it was back in the day. But there's a nice mix of people. You got your working class, there's a little bit more money around here now. It's a beautiful suburb, obviously we're in a peninsula here, so you take a couple of steps down, you're on the water. But definitely much more of a mix. You know, you got your young families, you got your the younger generation, you still got the old school locals from back in the day, so yeah, a nice mix.
Yeah, now, the pub changed names quite a few times for around the 70s, towards the early 2000s. At one point it was called the Monkey Bar. Why do you think it was changed back to the Cricketers?
I believe that would have been Tim Condon when he took it back over. He wanted to bring it back to more its old school pub roots, whereas the Monkey Bar was a completely different direction from what the pub was originally. It was very much, the Monkey Bar was very much live music, late night entertainment. A lot of people still know it as the Monkey Bar, so it definitely had its time in the sun as the Monkey Bar. Completely different style of pub. But I believe when Tim Condon, the Condotel, what they reverted it back to the Cricketers, just to bring it back to its roots of what the pub actually was and how it started. So.
Well, like many pubs in Balmain, Anzac Day is pretty big at the Cricketers Arms. When did it start celebrating the day, and do you know any kind of traditions that began?
Anzac Day is definitely probably the biggest day of the year in Balmain. Obviously, you have the old memorial here outside Woolworths, which I believe is one of the oldest memorials in Australia, if not New South Wales. So very much, they would shut the streets down. It was probably the biggest Anzac Day in all of Sydney, was Balmain, and it's still known to that. And you know, a lot of us now, they're closing down streets and putting out barriers, and we might even do something next year. We might shut down that street, I'm thinking. But yeah, because it's just such a big day. But it's also just a good way of remembering, you know, what people are supposed to.
Yeah, and just going off a little bit what you said earlier, how would you describe the Cricketers Arms connection to the Balmain community over the years?
Yeah, it's definitely got a connection. I mean, I've tried to really dig deep into that as well. We actually sponsor Balmain AFC, which is the AFL club, just the Balmain Tigers. They also go back 100 years. So I sponsor the Balmain AFL team. I also sponsor Leichhardt Wanderers Rugby, which is Leichhardt, which is just down here. They've got a rich connection. I'll let them play here in Birchgrove. And I'm actually we're just about to sign a sponsorship agreement with Sydney Cricket Club, which actually, so
that's a big one.
That's a big one. So we started off, we've got the AFL and the Rugby League at this part of the year, and then now we'll have the cricket when that finishes. But yeah, the Sydney Cricket Club, formerly known as the Balmain District Cricket Club, which started across the road. So they're looking to bring back their old heritage roots, and they thought, what better place to sponsor than the Cricketers?
Why do you think pubs in Balmain have been such an important influence on the Balmain community?
Balmain has always been known as like one of the most highly densulated spots for pubs. There used to be a lot more back in the day, a lot of them closed, but it's just, I think it's been passed on through generations over the years that, you know, Balmain is the spot for pubs. It's obviously working class, especially with the docks, stuff like that. So it just went hand in hand, you know, old school workers, docks, going for a beer. And I guess that has just been continued on over the years, and you know, I'm proud to be able to keep that continuing here.
There's something poignant to the fact that even though Balmain culturally has changed quite a bit over the centuries, the pubs remain like a constant.
Yeah, very much a rich part of Balmain's history. I mean, people think of Balmain, so think of it, working class workers, the pubs, this, that, the other. So yeah, that has remained through the years, and like I said, when we do our renovations, we try and keep that heritage feel to it. We don't want to modernize it too much, because we don't want to stick out too much. We want to kind of blend in and respect the heritage and the history of the pubs and the suburb itself. We try and make sure that we do a little hat tip to the rich history, and you take a walk around the pub and you'll see all the old photos that gives a bit of a nod to the history.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for having us, Tommy.
Well, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for popping in. And, yeah, it's been great.
And